But our top story today, and it is one of the biggest challenges facing the Narendra Modi government. Ahead of the festive season, the Modi government has made yet another attempt to shore up consumer demand and try and rescue or revive an economy which has been shrinking in 2020. The government today and the finance minister announced LTC cash vouchers and special festival advance schemes for central government employees. These schemes will also extend to the private sector. The government says these schemes will incentivize consumer spending. Right at the top, the big question: does the government have a plan of action for reviving the economy? And will the finance minister's latest steps help kickstart consumer demand? It's our top focus tonight.
With the Indian economy set to shrink 9.5% this financial year, the Narendra Modi government has stepped in to provide some cheer ahead of the festive season. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced 2 new ESOPs for central government employees. Due to the pandemic, government employees are unable to avail leave travel concession. The centre has announced LTC cash voucher scheme for them. Under the scheme, the government will give employees cash vouchers in lieu of LTC. The staff will get full payment on leave encashment. The payments will be tax-free, but the money will have to be spent on buying items with 12% or more GST, and the purchase has to be made on digital platforms before March 31st.
Additional consumer demand generated as a result, we expect will be in the range of 28,000 crores.
The government also launched the special festive advance scheme. The scheme for non-gazetted employees is being revived as a one-time measure for all employees. All central government employees can now get an interest-free advance of 10,000 rupees. The advance will have to be repaid in 10 installments through prepaid RuPay card.
Experts say that in uncertain times, the idea should not be just to cure the economy, but also to create an antidote for the negative sentiment that is prevailing among the consumers.
The LTC stimulus measure which is announced by the government will have some minor impact on the demand conditions. Reason being, these people are those who have their jobs secured, their salaries are secured, and they will go for a slightly higher purchase. What it is going to do, it is preponing the demand, so there will not be additional demand which will be created by these.
The Modi government's efforts so far has been on the supply side with mostly credit schemes. This time, the government has come out with a measure that encourages people to spend and thus increase demand. Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, let's then raise the big questions. Will the government's festival offer actually cheer up consumers? Has the government done enough so far to spur demand in the economy? Can the government check the growth slide in the economy? Is India, frankly, facing its worst recession in decades? These are some of the questions we'll raise tonight. I'm joined by Gaurav Vallabh, who's become the Congress's face on economic issues, its spokesperson. Syed Zafar Islam is BJP leader and someone who's also its party face on economic issues. And Rajiv Dubey, editor, Business Today, is also joining us at this moment. I want to come to you, Professor Gaurav Vallabh, today, because till now the Congress has been saying that the government has not been doing enough to stir consumer demand. Now the government says the total boost to demand is estimated at 73,000 crores because of this so-called festive offer. How do you respond? Do you believe that by putting cash in people's pockets or encouraging people to go out and buy, the government has finally recognized the need to trigger demand?
Rajdeep, first of all, thank God that Finance Minister at last had come out of her slumber and admitted that consumer demand is at all-time low. Thank God. Point here is that there are three schemes today government had announced. Number one, LTC cash voucher. I will summarize this scheme with one word: अपने पैसे खर्च करो ऐसे. It is not something additional. It is something you are saying government employees who are getting LTC, now you can spend here also. Means instead of putting money in this pocket, government said that you put the money in the another pocket. Second scheme is festive advance. I will summarize that as Tera Tujhko Arpan. This is not an assistance. This is a loan of 10,000 rupees. And Rajdeep, mind it, this is the same government who had, after announcing the hike in DA, had refused to pay DA to the central government employees. And the difference was 4%. So if I assume the basic salary of a guy is 20,000 rupees, 4% comes out something around 800 rupees per month. So every central government employee at the lowest of the pyramid is losing 800 rupees per month because the government had refused to pay the DA, which government had already announced before the lockdown. And the third one was giving 12,000 crore to the state governments. My only question is that total budget of all the state governments combined together is something around 9 lakh crore. 12,000 crore of 9 lakh crore is 1.33%. Does the finance minister assumes that this 1.33% additional spending by state governments can get the economy out of the recession of minus 23.9%? So it is something I will say, oont ke muh mein zeera. That's all. There is nothing. And I ask a simple question. Rajdeep, by the end of this show, get me the answer. After today's announcement, what a common person of our country is going to get additionally? What government employee is going to get additionally? What a worker who lost the job is going to get additionally? What 2.1 crore people who lost the job between April to August are going to get additionally? If you can get me this answer, I will be highly obliged.
Let me go to the BJP guest, and I will also ask my producer to put up what exactly have been the government's announcements today. Because in a sense, Zafar Islam, the charge against the government is that what you are really doing is only tinkering around. You are announcing 10,000 interest-free festival advance to employees to increase consumer spending. You are saying there will be cash vouchers given to staff in lieu of LTC to spend on non-food items. Many believe that this is too little and too late. That you are basically telling them, इस साल LTC नहीं मिलेगा, उसकी जगह में हम तुम्हारे उतना पैसा अगर आप खर्च करें, we'll give you that. Is that enough? It's not as if they're getting additional monies. People are not going to get additional monies.
Can I respond,
yes, please.
Rajdeep?
Yes.
Well, let me tell you first thing. Since you have posed this question whether it's enough, we never said that it is enough. We have always indicated that we will continue to monitor the situation and to ensure that there is a boost in demand. We will continue to take measures which will boost the demand. Having said that, let me just remind you that since the month of May, when the Atmanirbhar package was announced of over 20 lakh crore, since then, if you just see the numbers of April number and today's number, September number, is very encouraging. It is looking very encouraging and promising. All the statistics which is today, if you just analyze with the pre-COVID level, it is slowly coming to current numbers is slowly. Either it's on a year-on-year basis, it has already gone beyond that, or it is closer to that. So that only suggests that the economic activity has begun in the system. But as the restriction is being eased out, they are also making more and more announcement. But because supply chain side has been addressed by Atmanirbhar package, and that's why those statistics which is so apparent for you, even people were talking about CMI data. You had discussed about the CMI data, how the unemployment rate
Zafar Islam, just a minute. Zafar Islam, if I look at year on year, 1 minute, sir.
Just 2 seconds.
If I look at year on year, there is no, it is very clear that the economy is in a slump. If I compare it to April, May, when there was a lockdown, you could argue that there is a revival. But let's be very clear. We are doing this discussion barely days after the RBI itself has admitted there's a 9.5 contraction in 2021. So let's not talk up the economy. We can say, compared to April, May, there are some signs of revival. That's all.
No, Rajdeep, what I'm trying to tell you that pre-COVID level, I'm not comparing the April number with the September number or the May number with the September number. I'm saying the pre-COVID level in many cases. For instance, GST number, if you see, it is very close to the pre-COVID level. If you also see the power demand, it is actually on a year-on-year basis, it has gone beyond that number. So there are some statistics which suggest that there is demand is there. The economic activity has begun. All I was trying to tell you that economic activity has begun, and that is very evident from the PMI number as well. Having said that, yes, restrictions are being eased out, and so as the announcements are being made to push the demand. For instance, people are talking about the restaurant, people talk about the tourism industry, people are talking about the hotel industry, people are talking about the airlines. See, if the restrictions are still in place, the lockdown has not completely been lifted. Even if you make the announcement, it will not impact. It will not bring the desired impact. So once the restrictions are completely eased out, then more and more announcement will come, and that will actually push the demand, because
so
government is extremely sincere and sensitive.
Sir, no one doubts the sincerity of a government.
The measures will be announced only when it is warranted.
Sir, no one doubts the sincerity of a government. Rajiv Dubey, you've heard the two politicians make their preliminary remarks. What's your sense? Has the finance ministry finally recognized that the real problem is with demand? That until now there was a sense that the government was tackling the supply side problem. The real problem has been kickstarting demand. Is this enough? What you've seen today, is it a small step forward? Will it actually kickstart demand in this festive season, offering people the option of cash vouchers instead of LTC, for example? And will that include the private sector as well?
So Rajdeep, the very fact that the government has finally, after 2 years of persuasion, has finally acted on consumption is an admission that there was a problem in consumption and not necessarily the supply side, which the government was largely tackling until now. As far as this scheme is concerned, the incentive is for a person who already is entitled to something, and the government is saying that you spend 3 times more to be able to use that entitlement. Now, the problem with this is that this entitlement is available till December of 2021. So why will any employee want to go and spend 3 times the entitlement just because the government is saying so? It's only those people who will spend this money.
Just to clarify to our viewers, if I have 40,000 is my existing LTC, yes, I have to spend 1,20,000. Am I correct?
1,20,000, 40,000 will save you 12,000 rupees of tax. For that, you have to spend 10 times. 1,20,000 to save 12,000 rupees of tax, when you can still claim this until December of 2021. That block of year is by calendar years. It's not by fiscal. So it goes from 2018 calendar, Jan to December, to 2021 calendar, Jan to December. So that facility for you to avail still exists way beyond the 31st March deadline the government is telling you to spend, so that you can avail this, and asking you to spend 3 times the money to be able to use this, when you are entitled to use that until December of 2021.
So you're saying that people will end up deferring in any buying. That's the worry that you have, right? That instead of buying now, they would defer it to next year.
What I'm saying is that nobody is going to spend 3 times the money just because the government wants it to spend by 31st of March, when he can spend that money by 31st of December 2021. Only those who had to spend any which way on a certain purchase will go ahead and utilize this by 31st of March. I do not expect a person who, to save 12,000 rupees to spend 1.2 lakh under the current circumstances, when everybody is worried about their future.
Gaurav Ballabh, respond in a way, because look, it's not let's be clear, it's not an easy solution. What is the solution that you have to trigger consumer demand? Opposition is targeting government. You've been targeting them for 6 months. You give me your alternative now.
That's a very fair question, and I will give the alternate. Alternate is that you have to give the money in the hands of the people, and when I'm saying money, it should be additional money. It should not be window dressing. It should not be creative accounting. You tell me, Rajdeep, to save 12,000 rupees tax in the current recessionary condition when the GDP is down at minus 23.9%? Is any prudent person is going to spend 120,000 rupees? Yes or no? I am asking your viewers this question. Second point, the gentleman from BJP was telling that the economic activities had started. I just want to tell him that in the month of May, June, World Bank had predicted the contraction for the entire year as minus 3.2%. And recently they had revised it to minus 9.6%. And the same is the case with the State Bank of India, Nomura, Goldman, India Rating, Fitch, you name any rating agency, they had revised it. It means 20 lakh crore package was not able to turn economy as expected out of that. Government has to admit that. And that is what we were telling from day one, that you please transfer money in the hands of the people. And that money should be additional money. That money should create the demand in the economy. That demand is going to create new consumption, and new consumption is going to create new jobs. That is the economic model. That is the Nyaya model. That is the Nobel laureates model. But right now, the government is not thinking.
So you're saying Gaurav Ballabh, you would have stuck to the model of giving 7,500 per month into the hands of the bottom 50 percentile of the population. Am I correct?
This is the first thing. Second thing, we are going to give money in the hands of the MSME entrepreneurs. Our party president, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi ji, wrote a letter also that MSME doesn't require credit support. They require cash support. So that is the second thing. Third thing, 2 crore 10 lakh people who lost their jobs between April to August 2020 during the COVID times. We have to give money in the hands of those people. These window dressing tactics are not going to help. Idhar ka maal idhar dal do. Udhar ka maal idhar diyo. Please come out of your logics. Give something concrete. Answer my one question, Rajdeep. Again, I am raising. What is the additional money which a central government employee is going to get?
Syed Zafar Islam, answer directly. Where is the cash in the hands, actual cash in hands of people? The question is, the 20 lakh crore stimulus has come and gone. There's a sense that cash has not come in people's hands. Is there an admission, therefore, that you have failed to tackle the demand crisis which you are finally recognizing? Today, Nirmala Sitharaman appears to admit. She finally says, no gainsaying that the pandemic has adversely impacted the economy. Consumer spend needs to be given a boost. That's what she said today. Is there an admission, therefore, that we finally need to tackle the demand side crisis?
Rajdeep, the Honorable Finance Minister, even when the announcement package was announced, even at that time she said that adequately she will respond as and when it is warranted. So today we know that we have been able to address the supply side and the demand side, of course, as the restriction is being eased out, as the lockdown is completely lifted. The LB measures will be taken.
Where is the additional money in people's pockets? Zafar Islam, where is the additional money in people's pockets?
No, you, Rajdeep, like you are giving time to everyone to speak, allow me to also speak. Please do not interrupt me. That the way you have given to others. All I am saying that when you are in the government, it is very easy for Gaurav or Professor Gaurav Ballabh to make this kind of a stupid statement that send money to everyone 7,500 without having done any back of the envelope calculation how much money India would require. Secondly, there is no, if the Nyaya scheme was made, even suggested, which was rejected by everyone, even at that time when there was no pandemic, there was a regular cash flows for the government, the revenues was there. If we have lost revenue, the revenue shortfall is there for the government for the month of April, May, June, and there's huge revenue shortfall. In addition to that, government has raised additional borrowing of 4.13 crore. There are a lot of restriction even for the government to maneuver in terms of raising additional resources because it will impact many things. How much leeway you have in terms of increasing your fiscal deficit? You already, by raising additional 4.13 crore, you already at a very high level, and government has always indicated that they will always maintain a fiscal deficit which is an acceptable level. Today, of course, because of the pandemic, it will go up, but there will be a roadmap to bring it down. So, if you continue to raise money just to distribute, then obviously
I will keep asking you, where is the additional money in people's hands?
All I can say, additional money has always been pumped out. Even today's measures will release a lot of money for to common man for their spending, and particularly if you're talking about the central government employees, their salary is much better, steeper than compared to the middle level and lower level of private sector. So they have the ability, and everyone, they wait for the festive season to spend, and I'm sure that everyone, it is an opportunity being created with some for them to spend.
Okay, Gaurav Vallabh,
should they decide not to spend, it is, of course.
Gaurav Vallabh, there are some indicators, just a minute, Zafar Issam. Gaurav Vallabh, there are some indicators, especially in the month of September. If you look at the auto sector, for example, there are signs that that consumer demand has picked up. In certain sectors, consumer demand has picked up. You can't say that there is no demand at the moment in the economy. Again, I compare it to what was in lockdown and even pre-COVID. Certain sectors are showing that the economy is picking up. Will you concede that or not concede that at all?
Rajdeep, the gentleman from BJP is contradicting his own statement. He's telling government employees salary is good. अरे भाई salary good है तो 10,000 रुपए का loan क्यों दिया भाई? What is the requirement of that? Then he said Professor Vallabh's suggestion is stupid. Nobel laureate suggestion, Abhijit Banerjee's suggestion is stupid. Raghuram Rajan's suggestion is stupid. Amriti Sen's suggestion is stupid.
No, he has also made the similar statement to your boss.
Trump is doing that. You are saying stupid to your dear friend of our Prime Minister. How dare you? How I can listen these type of statement? You are saying
even he never endorsed Naya scheme.
Please keep quiet. Have the patience to listen. And the third point which you had asked me, that auto sale number are increasing. Rajdeep, if you are going to compare the number with the April-May number, naturally it is going to increase, because at that time the sales was 0. Today it is 1 car. So you will say, okay, increase. Array, you have to compare it to the pre-COVID level. What is the average sales number of the auto in the pre-COVID level from 2014 to 19? Had we achieved 50% of that, yes or no? And again, I'm asking a simple question. What additional money Government of India's employee is going to get after today's announcement? He is not answering. He is just giving gumaing. You can't.
Rajdeep, can I just come in? Can I just come in?
Give me how.
Okay, let Gaurav Vallabh, let Syed Zafar Islam, I'll give you uninterrupted time if you answer that one question. Where is the additional money coming from?
No.
You are not answering.
No,
where are people getting additional money in their pockets?
To that. No, Rajdeep, first we had asked, not once, repeatedly, that when they announced the Naya scheme, from where the money will come. Did they respond? They had no answer. Even the Nobel laureate he was talking about, he didn't endorse this scheme because they never thought of this scheme properly. And nobody had answer from where this scheme will be funded. Today they are posing question to us after the pandemic. It's stupid because they should have, at that time, when there was no visibility of pandemic, they had visibility of the future cash flows. The revenue side was absolutely visible. At that time, the Naya scheme was not endorsed by even every economist on the street. Forget about this Nobel laureate, because they asked a simple question to Mr. Rahul Gandhi, that from where you will be funding this scheme.
Sir, forget Rahul Gandhi. I'm asking you, where is the additional? Why are you not putting additional monies in people's pockets? Simply taking LTC money and into cash vouchers is not additional money.
So let me tell you, Rajdeep, government will definitely examine the pros and cons of raising additional resources, because revenue shortfall is revenue shortfall, that what you have lost. And for providing cash in everyone's hand, or for taking any measures which will ensure that people get money in their hand, you will also need to raise resources. And I'm sure the government of India will examine.
That's a valid concern which I want to turn. Rajiv Dubey, is that a valid concern that the government cannot simply put additional monies in people's pockets till it raises additional resources?
So, Rajdeep, this year already the government has committed to raising 4 lakh crore additional resources, but it's going to fall still way short of that. Today's announcement says that the government is not going to go beyond the 12.4 lakh crore total resources that it will be raising for the full fiscal. So 7.5 lakh crore, 7.5 lakh crore it had already committed. Another 4.4 lakh crore it's going to raise Additionally, beyond that, the government has said that it's not going to raise any more resources. And yet it has committed 37,000 crore of additional spending in capex, in road building, in water system management building, in those kind of projects, which the government will be spending over and above what it had already committed for the full fiscal. So the question that arises is, where is this money going to be coming from? To that the government's answered that this had already been accounted for in this 11.5 lakh crore that they will be raising at the time when the government announced it about 2.5 months back. So the 25,000 crore plus 12,000 crore it will be giving to the states, 37,000 crore had already been accounted for in the 11.5 lakh crore that it will be raising. Beyond that, it is not raising any additional resource, and yet the government is going to fall way short of GST revenues. So there is going to be a higher fiscal deficit that I guess will be tackled closer to the end of the fiscal. It's not something that either they are in a position to understand, nor our economists are in a position to understand at this point in time.
Okay, let's leave it there, because remember, there is a major GST meeting that has been going on this evening. Dr. Amit Mitra, the Bengal finance minister, was to join us. He's been stuck at that meeting, and that meeting, one of the challenges is, how are you going to ensure that states get the shortfall in their GST revenues? As we said, the economy remains the critical issue in a way, the critical challenge that faces the Modi government. Has the finance minister simply tinkered today and offered a possible window dressing for consumer demand, or will this spur consumer demand? We'll wait and see. Thanks very much to our panelists for joining us. I want to move on to the next story. The other big story is coming over the Hathras case. 5 members of the Hathras victims' family today appeared before the Lucknow bench of the Allahabad High Court to present their testimony. They expressed discontent over the late-night rushed funeral of their daughter. But it was the UP police and the administration that came under the court's severe fire. The next hearing will take place on the 2nd of November, but the Yogi government has been put on notice by the court. Take a look.
The family of the Hathras victim appeared in High Court under tight security on Monday on the summons of the Lucknow bench. The 19-year-old girl's father, mother and 3 brothers made the journey of 6 hours from Hathras to Lucknow under police escort. Apart from 5 members of the victim's family, top UP officials including the Additional Chief Secretary, DGP, ADG Law and Order, Hathras SP and DM were also summoned by the court. The family of the girl raised the issue of a hurried cremation by the police. The district magistrate of Hathras defended the midnight cremation, saying the administration feared a breakdown of law and order. The court was clearly unimpressed by this argument, saying additional force could easily have been called in if the administration sensed trouble.
वहाँ के आम पब्लिक थी, जो परिवार फैमिली रिलेटिव्स थे, वो करीब 50 से 60 लोग थे. 50-60 लोगों को क्या 200-300 पुलिस कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकती थी? आप रात भर उनको रोकते, 2-3 घंटे के बाद सुबह उनका अंतिम संस्कार कर दिया जाता. तो ये बहुत सारे सवाल पूछे गए.
The case will now be heard again on the 2nd of November.
Allahabad High Court Lucknow bench today seems annoyed by the fact that the way UP administration has handled the Hathras case. The victim's family recorded their statement along with the fact why the body was cremated late night without the approval and the kind of support they have lacked in Hathras from the police administration.
The hearing in the High Court came even as the CBI began its probe after registering a case on Sunday. The CBI team visited the Chandpap police station to collect case documents and other forensic material.
The CBI will now record the statements of the victim's family along with eyewitnesses and grill the accused. The statement will then be matched with the forensic evidences before coming to any conclusion in what really happened in Hathras, the case which has sent the ripples across the nation. In Lucknow with Shivendra Srivastawa, this is Abhishek Mishra with Sanjay Singh, Lucknow, India Today.
Welcome back. Let's turn to our other special focus, our newsmaker tonight. Now, months before Tamil Nadu goes to the polls next year, the Congress has lost one of its Tamil Nadu faces. Actor turned politician Khushbu Sundar dumped the Congress today and joined the BJP, saying that her voice was being suppressed in the party. Take a look.
Just months before the crucial Tamil Nadu polls, the Congress has suffered a big jolt. Khushbu Sundar has jumped ship and joined the BJP. The former superstar of Kollywood joined the Saffron Party in the presence of BJP chief JP Nadda in the national capital.
I have been staying quiet. I have been laying low for quite some time, even with Congress, because I was not completely understanding that being in a position does not mean you oppose everything. You don't have to find faults to oppose everything. Yes, we were in a position, we need to oppose, but unwantedly, reasons which are not even valid, we were trying to oppose.
Before she joined the BJP, Khushbu wrote to Congress chief Sonia Gandhi. She complained that few leaders within the party suppressed her and did not allow her to work. She alleged that leaders who have no standing on the ground or public recognition are dictating terms in the Congress. For the BJP, struggling to make its presence felt in Tamil Nadu, Khushbu is a prize catch. Khushbu's exit adds to the long list of prominent leaders who have ditched the Congress. The grand old party probably needs to introspect on why it can't retain talent. Bureau Report, India Today.
And let's go straight to our newsmaker this evening. Khushbu Sundar now joins me. Appreciate your joining us, Khushbu Sundar. Let me get straight to the point. A Congress spokesperson leaves to join the BJP ahead of the Tamil Nadu elections next year. Is this an act of pure political opportunism? Given that you were a consistent critic of BJP and Narendra Modi, you have gone and joined them. Your response?
Rajdeep, if you're going to say that it's for a political gain, please tell me with what position have I got into BJP? Or everybody knows that BJP is yet to find a strong foothold in Tamil Nadu comparatively to Congress. So I don't look at it as an opportunist step to get into BJP.
No, let me tell you, ma'am, you have consistently questioned the BJP over the last few years. You have attacked them. In fact, as recently as June 17th, you attacked Mr. Modi in very strong terms. Dear Narendra Modi ji, what happened to your 56 ka Sina, 56-inch chest? You developed cold feet, chose to remain silent. This is in response to the LAC standoff. You've also raised the question of the BJP pushing the idea of one country, one religion, Hindu Rashtra. These are all your tweets, ma'am. You're accusing them of promoting Hindu Rashtra. You're accusing the Prime Minister of not doing anything on China. Is all of that forgotten now that you're joining the BJP?
Nothing is forgotten. And I'm not even going to lie and say that that was the admin. All was done by me. There were few which were done on a personal basis. There were few which were done on the compulsion of being in an opposition. And I'm sure everybody who is watching this, they do understand that being in an opposition, you have to stay within the party lines. And you have to speak what the party says, what are the party's thoughts, ideas. And you have to speak only on those lines. You cannot go beyond that. And when I did go against the party ideas about opposing, I faced the backlash within the party, like whether it was abolition of triple talaq, whether it is about NEP now, the national education policy, and other issues when I congratulated Modi ji on something, or when I wished Amit Shah ji on get well when he tested positive with COVID, I wished him a get well soon. So I did face the backlash of my party, but I think my tweets were basically: you're in opposition, you have to pick a line, and you have to stay within that line and criticize the ruling party. That's the basic duty.
Miss Khushbu Sundar, it's one thing to being in the opposition. I want to know, when you make this switch from the opposition to joining the ruling party, are you telling me today BJP is not promoting Hindu Rashtra? Are you suddenly switched your mind on that? Are you telling me that now you believe Narendra Modi does have a 56-inch chest? Do you now believe that the BJP has never promoted any form of communalism? These are all words that you've used, that the BJP is truly a strong party. Have you changed all your views about Mr. Modi and the BJP, and you believe they're the best party for India now?
I said few tweets were by me and the rest was on the lines of the party. As far as his 56-inch Sina, I'm not a tailor to go and measure that, so I really wouldn't know. Only the person who stitches his clothes would know that what is the size of his chest. Rest all, All I would like to ask is if people say that he is promoting Hindu Rashtra, or like the Congress has always been saying, or when I was in Congress, even I raised questions that it's about Hindutva, it's a party which is anti-minorities. I would like to ask, is Congress anti-Hindu party? Because I think religion should not be played along.
Okay.
Whether it is about minorities or Hindu, religion should not be played along saying that it is this party, it is this religion or that religion. A political party is not about religion. A political party is about what they can do to make this country flourish. And that is what is important to me.
You know, it's interesting the way you're putting it. Political party should not interfere with religion. Let me then tell you what you just said at the Karnataka Panchayat 2 years ago, which we held on India Today before the Karnataka elections, because you were very aggressive at that time. And in fact, what you told me that day went viral. Listen in to what you said 2 years ago, ma'am.
Today, the BJP wants to divide. BJP wants to bring in religion in every possible matter. My family, I'm married to a Hindu. My brother's married to a Christian. The other brother's married to another Christian. My other brother's married to a Muslim. We live in harmony. What is anybody's problem? Whether I eat pork, or I do anything within my house on my plate. What I wear a bindi, I don't wear a bindi. What is BJP's problem? I have lived in this country. I was born in this country, and I say I'm a proud Indian. My patriotism, it runs in my blood. But I want to ask BJP, and I don't say as a Congress person, and I say this as a citizen of this country, what is your problem, what we do within our house or what we do with our lives? Whether I love, I marry, I die, I commit suicide, I do whatever I want. It is my choice.
Okay.
BJP has no rights to interfere in my life. And that's it. And this comes as an individual, as a Congress person. Yes, we will fight this out. It is a fight because we, as Congress, we have always believed in secularism. We have always believed in harmony. We have been wrong in times. We have gone wrong. And I'm not saying that, no, we have been absolutely saint. We have made mistakes, but we have learned from our mistakes. And we want to set that right. And we will set it right.
That was 2 years ago. Lots has changed, ma'am. There you're lashing out at the BJP. What do I say now, ma'am? You're joining that same party that you lashed out against?
Nothing. I have evolved. That's all. I'm not going to deny that was me who spoke. Yes, I was angry when people started trolling me, saying that my name was Nakat Khan. I was trying to hide my identity as a Muslim. Yes, it hurt. And that is when I lashed out as an individual, not as a party spokesperson. I still believe in what I said. Nobody has the right to dictate terms as to how I should live. I still believe in that. My party has changed. My ideologies haven't. I'm an activist first and a politician next. And so my ideologies will remain with me. I will still speak about the issues which will trouble me.
No, I am asking you, you're saying you've evolved. I'm trying to understand what is this evolution, because suddenly you are claiming, it appears that the BJP is the right party for you, that it does not promote Hindutva, that therefore you've joined them. Is that the evolution? Is that wisdom that has suddenly dawned on you, that BJP is the right party for this country? I'm just playing what you said 2 years ago. Are you calling this evolution?
No, I wouldn't say that BJP does not promote Hindutva. I think BJP does promote Hindutva. But then why have we been promoting only minority? It's not about Hindutva or minority alone. This country belongs to everyone. And I still say it's my secularism, which is I'm going to wear on my sleeves, my patriotic secularism, which I'm going to proudly wear it on my sleeves and walk around. Nothing is going to change in my ideology. Nothing is going to change. Yes, you get carried away when you're in a party and you have been, right from your childhood, you have been brought up on one particular party and their ideologies. You do get carried away, and I wouldn't take my words back. I would say that I have evolved. I need to think freely.
Ma'am, you know, this evolution word is very, when someone leaves one party and joins the other, evolution, sorry to be cynical after so many years of tracking politics, but the sense is this is opportunism. You know, who knows, tomorrow you may get a Rajya Sabha seat, tomorrow something else, which the Congress as a party in opposition cannot give you. At the end of the day, is this Khushbu Sundar frustrated that Congress could not give opportunities which you hope that the BJP will now give you in a state like Tamil Nadu?
No, definitely not. I see, Rajdeep, I'm not here for any kind of gain. I have seen money, I have seen fame, I have seen success, I have seen everything have come into politics. I'm not here to get 2-minute fame. I'm not here to secure my position on a Twitter or see that how many followers, how many millions of followers I have. I'm not here for that. I need to work. I need to work for the party.
You know, are you telling me that you couldn't do that in the Congress? Is there a sense I get that the Congress, that you are disillusioned with it, that you are angry? Something must have happened. What happened for you to suddenly get angry with the Congress party? Please tell us.
When I have resigned from the party, you look the kind of statement the TNCC president makes. The TNCC president says, after all, she is an actress and she was always looked upon as an actress. I'm saying 6 years is what I have given to this party. Length and breadth of it, I have given 6 years. I have forgone my personal time with my family. I have forgone my personal occasion which needed to be with my family, with my mother, ailing mother. I have given up everything and I have given everything to this party in the last 6 years. But today when I quit, all they want to do is start a blame game, say that after all I'm an actor. Why people do not want to understand that what's wrong.
Now, I want to ask you a simple question. Are you really looking forward now to working with Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, the people whom you criticized and castigated till the other day? Have they changed or have you changed?
I think both of us have changed. When they're accepting me despite being so critical about it, and me despite being so extremely critical about them, going back to them and working with them, being under the same umbrella, under their shadow, I think both of us have changed and both of us are looking forward to work for the betterment.
Interesting, Khushbu Sundar. If evolution is the new word when you move from one party to the other, I don't want to be cynical, but we will see what the future holds for you. Thank you very much for joining me, Congress spokesperson, now with the BJP. Okay, let's turn to our good news today story. And our good news today story comes of the story of a street vendor who came to the rescue of a boy who was dangling on the terrace of his home. The video shows the boy hanging from the edge of a terrace as a girl pushed him back to safety. However, street vendor Mohammad Salik is running towards the boy, catches him just as he is falling. That's our good news today story.
Video to chapdi amchu rehte ki.
Let's turn from there to my final story today. And my final story comes from my own city of Mumbai. That's right. Oh, sorry, there's a real good news story. Let's turn then to our good news story for the day. It comes from Odisha, where a rapper known as Dule Rocker has been really making waves. Take a look at why Dule Rocker is becoming such a star. This is our real good news story.
Anger over Hathras horror at its rebellious and expressive best. 27-year-old Dhuleshwar Tandi goes by the name of Dule Rocker in the cyberspace.
Yo, boy, rapper Dule Rocker, I'm back. Yo.
Tandi has taken the interest by storm with his raps on social issues. From the plight of migrants to farm reforms to the Hathras case. This tribal rapper has taken up every issue close to his heart.
साफ करो कचरा दिमाग करो ऑन चोर निकला चौकीदार धारण किया मौन वो मर गई तो घर वालों का रीति रिवाज समाज का उसे चलाने वाला तू होता है कौन वो रोती माँ बोलती बेटी मेरी लौटा दे वो चीखे बाप की जो ढूंढे अपनी औलादे सुनी गोद सुनी आंगन पैसों से ना भरता बे दूसरे को रुलाने वाला खुद एक दिन रोता है ले अभी देश भर से आने लगा तेरे लिए हाय हाय बद्दुआ से भर चुका तू देश छोड़ा बाय बाय झूठा तेरा पुण्य झूठा तेरा पाप ये गवाह इतिहास बुरे का बर्बाद सुबह लेके आती है हर काली रात इनकलाब जिंदाबाद.
Tandi came to limelight with the rap he posted after lockdown forced him to return to Kalahandi from Raipur, where he was working in a restaurant.
I stand with farmer, cause I am a farmer. I stand with farmer, cause I am a farmer.
Tandi's art doesn't have the luxuries of a troupe or special effect. He mostly records from his house that still has a thatched roof or from his village surroundings.
अब कोई मिडिलमैन नहीं रहेगा। फार्मर्स अपने मनमानी जहाँ पे ज़्यादा रेट मिल रहा है उसी जगह पे जाके कॉर्पोरेट्स को बेच सकते हैं, यानी कि प्राइवेटाइजेशन। तो हम सबको मालूम है कि प्राइवेटाइज पे बहुत ज़्यादा रेट नहीं मिलता, चाहे वो किसान हो या मजदूर हो।
This Bachelor of Science in Chemistry has a simple formula: raise issues that matter to common man and sing in the language the common man uses. It's a formula that has worked well for him so far.
Okay, quite a rocker there, and he's blazing the net, and he comes from Odisha. So Odisha is throwing up rockers and rappers as well. Good for the state. That's it on the show tonight. In a moment from now, I'll be back with the News Unlock, where we're going to look at Bengal's killing fields more closely. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.